Hi there, this is Rene Hamilton from Inner Soul Technologies, and I'm here with Kenji Kumara. We're here for a workshop in Edmonton, Alberta, and the date is June 19th today, I think. I'm not sure actually, time sort of passes me by. However, I was graciously invited to Kenji's workshop here to experience what Kenji does with the quantum light weaving, and I'll just tell you a bit brief about myself, and then I'll introduce Kenji here, the master of the quantum state that we've experienced this weekend. I'm Rene Hamilton from InnerSoulTechnologies.com. I'm the inventor of quantum nano vortex technology. I'm a author. I teach quantum psychology. I'm an artist. Also, I'm a systems researcher, and do many other things on the side as well. And I've been so blessed to have come into contact with Kenji and his beautiful assistants, and have the opportunity here to interview him and find out what exactly he does and how he's gotten where he has gotten. I attended a workshop this weekend and had some pretty profound experiences, and it's been quite intriguing for me. And I'd like to introduce Kenji Kumara, and thank you so much for being here. And you're here for just a few more hours, so we're just getting this in real quick while we have opportunity. And I'd like to find out a little more about what you do and how you got started, and if you can give us your website, a little bit of contact information to begin with, so you can just let us know what you're all about and briefly what you do. And then I'll ask you some more questions, and we can get further into detail here.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. QuantumLightweaving.com is my website address, and all the information is there. It is being upgraded and redesigned,
Wow.
so it should be looking pretty good next year.
Okay.
In the meantime,
Yeah.
we have our event schedule,
Okay.
so people can go to the events and the schedule page.
Okay.
And we have pretty much all the information people would need regarding personal sessions, the training, public presentations, group healing work.
Okay. Excellent.
I wanted to share with the Edmonton community that myself and my staff really enjoyed being here for a week, and it was the most outstanding training.
It was really amazing.
Very, very outstanding. And
Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have a Facebook page?
I have Facebook,
Okay.
Kenji Kumara or Lightweaver 7.
Okay.
YouTube, I believe, is under my name,
Okay.
Kenji Kumara.
Okay. You have I know I've seen a couple fan pages on there, and like a sort of biography page on there, and then you have your personal account on there. So I'm not sure which one is which. However, I'm sure you'll get that sorted out as to which one.
Yeah.
And do you have a specific YouTube channel at all, or is it little snippets here and there from different people?
We just have a few videos, and it's under my name,
Okay. So
Kenji Kumara.
Okay, YouTube.com.
Just type in
/Kenji
Kenji Kumara.
Kumara.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
And Facebook, they can just Facebook my name,
Okay.
Kenji Kumara.
Yeah. Perfect.
That should do it.
Excellent.
If not, call the Cosmic 911 operator.
Okay.
Right. They'll direct you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You get lost in the quantum.
Yeah. I know how it goes. Perfect. Okay.
So anyway, the work.
Perfect. So I I must admit, when I was invited by you to come down, I hadn't heard of you before. I've seen a couple little snippets here and there. People saying, "Hey, have you heard of Kenji Kumara?" And I hadn't. And then when you had Alice, your friend and assistant, had contacted me. Again, she said, "Have you heard of Kenji?" I'm like, no. Well, he likes your artwork and he wants you to come and check it out. And I wasn't skeptical. However, I didn't know what to expect. And when I had met you, I went for the barbecue, the private barbecue at her place. When I sat next to you, I'm very sensitive to energy, so very subtle vibrations. I had a hard time speaking to you. For some reason, brain to mouth coordination was offset. And you're asking me questions about my advanced quantum matrix manifestation plate, and I couldn't really give you an answer. I couldn't. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
I couldn't.
I'm just always a little shy.
Yeah. No. I was literally. I was in an altered state sitting next to you, so it was hard for me to communicate on an intellectual level. So I've become more accustomed to your energy over the weekend. So I'm a little more balanced in that field per se. So just from an experience of an altered state, just by sitting next to you, I was put into a different state of consciousness, and I'm not sure people really understand what that is or what that means. So it's quite profound to be in that presence, to where your whole being is altered just by being in your presence per se. So it's definitely honor and a gift and a blessing to be with like-minded or souls that are really looking to progress and experience the growth of your own true self. So thank you so much for being you. Right.
Yeah, I just try to be me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not trying, you're doing it. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you do and what sort of stages you went through to get to where you are. You could summarize it, or you could get into a little more detail if you feel that's relevant or not.
Well, age 5, I asked my mom, "Who am I?" And she said, "You're Japanese." And that began my search. Because that was, I knew at that age, that's kindergarten. That was kindergarten. That wasn't the level I was asking the question. And so I probably knew on other levels that my parents couldn't see me or didn't know who I was. And so pretty much my whole life I didn't. There were certain things I never discussed with them because I just felt they couldn't answer it. So that was probably the first indication.
Okay.
Now, had they said something different, maybe my search would have never started at 5.
Interesting.
Maybe. But that spurred me to seek.
Just out of curiosity, why them telling you that you're Japanese, why did that not satisfy you? What was it about that was...
Well, I was asking really about, on a soul level, who am I? And I knew a physical body level, a cultural level, and I knew that. Even at 5 years old, I knew that I was different physically looking than I was Japanese.
Okay.
So I knew that.
Right.
See, that's not the level that I was asking. Now, why I didn't ask my dad, I don't know. But I think it was a spontaneous thing with my mom. She was cleaning the bathtub one day, and I just walked in and said, "Mommy, who am I?" She stopped, and turned around and said, "You're Japanese." And started
That was it?
That was it, and I just walked away going, "Nope, that wasn't it."
Okay. Interesting.
So I started my search after I got out of the Air Force. I got out when I was 21, then I worked for 9 months. Then I started college, and that began my official search. So
what rough range of year did you go to college?
I started in 1969.
Okay.
And it took me 10 years to get my master's degree, but I was determined to do that.
Excellent.
But I didn't know it would take that long.
That was in California?
That was in California, yes.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Berkeley.
Okay.
Back in the day when it was nice and mellow. And,
Gotcha.
Yeah. Very different now. So I believe the first teacher that I met was a Swami from India. And then see other Swamis that would come pass through, the area where I was going to college. And then I would see psychics, I would see people that, they didn't really channel back in those days, but there were some mediums that I studied with. And it was all about, my search really was, somewhere as a little kid growing up, I remember studying with the Master every Friday. I mean, that was just a memory.
You were studying with the Master?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not in this life.
Okay.
But in another life, where I would go for my lessons every Friday, and I look forward to it.
I just want to clarify something. You went for lessons with the master on any different realm other than the 3D physical realm that you were currently based in physically at that moment?
No, not quite. No, I remember, my memory was growing up as a teenager that I missed going to my Friday lessons with my master and my teacher from another lifetime or a parallel lifetime.
Sure.
I missed that. Didn't have it on the physical plane here. That's why I was searching.
Okay.
And it was probably a Zen Master, because that feeling was like a very simple kind of teaching that I was studying. It wasn't complicated where you have to study sutras or Bibles or, you know, that kind of stuff.
Repeat 1,000 mantras,
yes,
10,000 a day. Okay.
Yeah. So I think my memory was that I would report to him, you know, my experiences for the week. We would go over that, and you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I missed that. So when I started college, I just went to see whoever I could that was in town or in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And these were also people that taught seminars.
Mm-hmm. So
I pretty much read all the books from about 1969 through about 1986. And then my brain began to like not be able to read. It was kind of like lose focus.
Like things like different types of psychology, like Krishnamurti, like
I studied everything.
Material.
I studied everything. Okay. Everything up until 86, 87, 88. That was in the metaphysical books, right? Everything. Well, that I could tune into.
Sure.
That didn't feel, you know, like... So I would read books that I felt somewhat of this vibrational kinship with.
Yes.
But, you know, I would look through everything. And I bought many books and then gave them away.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came a point where brain says, okay, now you gotta do something different other than read. And but getting back, I believe as a teenager I had this thing inside of where I wanted to know how Jesus exactly did his healing work. And I was raised Methodist. Sunday school was kind of boring.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go to the adult services, and that was probably more boring.
Right.
But I love my granny. She was a spiritual leader with a Methodist church in Berkeley, California. She was kind of like my mentor in a sort of unseen way, though.
Mm-hmm.
She would never teach me anything per se, although she would model Jesus' teachings. And she always said...
She's the embodiment of those teachings.
Yeah, she was. Since she was the spiritual leader of the church, which I didn't know until at her funeral, my aunt mentioned something, and I went, what? You just said, did I hear you right? Granny was the spiritual leader of this church?
Wow.
We're sitting in the pews.
Yeah.
That's when I found, that's how humble she was.
Yes.
I mean, she just always said, I go to bed like about 9:30, I get up every morning, and I pray for everybody I know. And I'm thinking, why would Granny get up and pray for everybody? Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're the leader of a church, that's what you do. But see, I didn't know she was the leader of the church, so I kept thinking, why did she do that? I mean, that's like really cool.
Yeah.
She had the softest hands, and when she would put her hands on my head, it was like I would feel this shock. Of course, I didn't know if that was Shakti at the time, but I would feel this wonderful energy.
Would you want to explain what Shakti is?
It's just a blessing or a transmission that can come through people.
Okay.
We all have that ability.
Okay.
It's just the Eastern term.
Is it
Shakti.
like a blessing almost?
Yeah, it's a blessing.
Okay.
Yeah. In the West, we might call it grace.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, she always said 3 things. She says, you must go to church, you must believe in Jesus, and what was the other one? You must be success. You must. She always said, you must, in her broken English, you must be success.
Interesting term. You know, the use of the word be. I don't hear a lot of people speak that way.
Yeah. But I didn't go to church after, teenager. But the Jesus thing, I've always followed in a sense of, not from a religious place, not from any kind of doctrine place, but from an esoteric, ascended master place. I wanted to know, and no one could show me, even up to date. that I found. But that was my search, was, okay, how did the Master really heal? Yeah, I remember he put his hands on people. Now, recently, I remember him putting his hands on people and people would fall over. And that's probably how the charismatic church, they still carried a little bit of that influence. So they do the falling out thing they do on church.
And where people is...
Yeah, uh-huh.
So you recall to a quantum state, that's how Jesus would lay his hands, people would literally...
and they would get up and they'd be different. I remember that.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Not early on, but, you know, as I stopped reading books and began to... And I studied all kinds of body work systems, energy work systems, spiritual psychotherapy, medical hypnotherapy, professional education degrees and certificates to teach young kids. If I had all the money in the world, I probably would have studied everything on the planet, you know, up to that point. But I had to be choosy because I was a poor student. Yeah, and poor seeker. So I would sometimes do trades for trainings or do something, you know. Until a point where I realized, okay, now I've got to do it. So, to make a long story short, I would take the best from all these fields and teachers that I'd studied with, which wasn't much really, but I'd try to take the kernel of what they showed us. I would let go of all the rest, which was a lot. I really let go of, well, rephrase. I learned what not to do when you teach people, because I would see teachers teaching, and I go, man, that you can't do that.
Just intuitively, you just knew that, or there was effects or results or happening that you would...
Well, yeah, it was like bad behavior by teachers, you know, in a seminar setting, stuff like that. You know, I would take note, of course, and go, yeah, I'm not going to do that for sure. I mean, I just was subject, or I saw just all the ways that you shouldn't teach people, you know. So, really, actually now, I have very little technique in my tool bag, so to speak. It's all experiential, pretty much. And I've learned, because all these people before would teach step by step and have manuals and have protocols and would have muscle testing or this, that, and the other. And I would go, oh man, that's just making me tired thinking about doing all that.
So there's a lot of
mental stuff.
Intellectual
There's a lot of mental
processes.
stuff. Yeah. To get to the state.
Yeah.
But somehow we came up with a very quick way to be that state and then to share it with others, and they would have changes. So I realized, or at least my belief, that the more simple it is, like this whole Zen approach, the more simple it is, the more effective it is. And if you share something with someone that doesn't involve the mind having to get engaged, the results are better and quicker and faster and more permanent. And I will always ask the universe, prime source, show me the quickest, easiest, most loving way to do this healing work, this transformational work. So, over the years, I suppose, I kept dropping beliefs and emotional baggage to a point where it's pretty direct now. And it's no big thing, because anybody can access that. And that's also what I ask for, is the teachability of this. That, not that we want to teach everybody on the planet, but where many different kinds of people can relate to this energy and want to use it in their life. And for it to be, I ask, to be practical. Because it's no good if it's not practical, if you can't use it to parent your kids, if you can't use it to relate to your spouse, if you can't use it to better the workplace environment, then what good is it? It can stay on that realm where, yeah, you can meditate and go and be blissed out for hours, and then you come back, and then you got to do this mundane level here. And I've noticed that people that don't make the connection, keep it separate, like this blissed out state here, and then working, being in the world, they're struggling still. They're still struggling in this world with the stress and the pain and the illness and everything.
I just want to clarify a few things. What you're saying is there are some people who can access immense levels of bliss, of
Unified
true,
field.
yeah,
Mhm.
oneness or whatever you want to call it. Yet they cannot function in the society day to day because they're not balanced between what's happening here and where their consciousness is. There's no bridge to make that.
Yes.
And doesn't seem to me as you're not really integrating that into your daily life, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they can't hold it or sustain it. But I think it's because really they haven't been taught to do that. And you got to remember, all of us weren't taught about the spiritual level first. We're taught the ABCs of physical, mental life, leaving out the spirit for the church.
Yes.
And if the church didn't do a good job, then you're really in a bad place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Stuck in a rut.
Why don't you, if you can simplify or just give a brief paragraph or how you want to explain it, what it is that the people have come to you for, that you have developed the consciousness or the ability to assist people with. I don't think we've really clarified that as of yet. So if you can sort of give me.
Well, basically they come because they want clarity,
Okay.
spiritual direction, you could say.
Okay.
Under a lot of pressure and stress, so there's like money, survival issues, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
There's emotional wounding from early childhood that's still not cleared up in most healers,
Mm-hmm.
but that's why they study healing, to subconsciously heal their wounding. There's inability to quiet the mind, too many thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
nagging voice.
The talking in your head that keeps most people up with insomnia at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things to do list, too, that's a good one,
Yeah.
right? And then, of course, there's the physical level of the body not being hormonally and brain-wise in balance.
Mm-hmm.
So you can try to treat the physical, the emotional, the psychological, but why not start where it really begins, from a spiritual place, and then have that trickle down and affect the mental, emotional, and the physical that way.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And the process that you go through is not through an entirely intellectual approach. It's literally allowing people or showing people how to access the state of grace, per se, of going beyond the thinking process to access a state of where, quite simply, average people would look at it as where miracles can happen.
Yeah.
From their point of view.
Yeah.
And this happens instantly.
It can.
It can happen.
And it can happen quickly over time.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You mentioned that some people who take your courses or get a session with you notice effects slowly trickling into their life without them really even paying attention to it. It just suddenly appears. Let's talk about the quantum wave.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that you've really brought forth, and how that relates. How you said your memories of how Jesus would perform what he does, and how that relates to you, and what that means for the average person. I don't think a lot of people understand what quantum wave is, or what the technique that you've developed, and how that is significant. Why don't you elaborate on that?
No, me neither.
No, I'm asking you to elaborate.
Dry humor.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Even the founder creator doesn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
We use humor.
Yeah.
as an integrating tool, which is very fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if people realize that, that it can be an integrator, a real quick integrator, laughter and spontaneous humor.
Yeah, did a lot of laughing over the weekend, that's for sure.
And let's see, so let's put it as simply as we can. So I have a vision. I mean, it's been there for I don't know how many years. So when I work with people, like say in a training, and I'm demonstrating the work so that they begin to understand, oh, okay, this is what you do, and things happen when you do this. So internally, when they come up and say I'm going to give them a wave, it's not really give them a wave, but it's just a way to phrase something. So basically, I'm holding a vibrational field around my body. That's not created by my mind, but it's created by my allowing to open up and connect with the source of all life. Now we all do it to a degree, or we wouldn't be here, right? But I believe that the goal, one of the goals of Earth life, is to be able to master that in each of our own creative ways, to master the holding of that vibration in the physical.
Yeah, interesting, or I should say, that's a very profound way to say that. I haven't heard that explanation before. So
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I just said it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
It really resonates with me.
So then I just simply, it doesn't matter what I do as far as hand positions or even what I say, and everybody has to realize that your hands have power. Power comes through your hands, right? It can heal or it can kill. Obvious, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's just imagine that we're just holding parts of the brain and the head, and internally, I'm focused. If I could draw it out for you, or if you were to be able to do a symbol, let's just use this because this was from the last training, and it carries the energy to the viewer from the last training, which was completed yesterday. So imagine, we're just going to imagine that this is the source. This is the point of power of source, of creativity, on a cosmic universal level, and you happen to, with your expertise, diagram it in such a way that it does carry the vibration when you look at it. So let's just imagine that this is what I visualize when I close my eyes, but you don't have to close your eyes to get connected with that. But let's just say I close my eyes for just a few seconds, and internally I am connected, I am one with that in as many aspects as I am consciously aware of. Then something happens. That person will most likely just fall over because your brain all of a sudden, when the brain interfaces a quantum, it shuts down. If you bring maybe too powerful of a software, if you try to download a software program that maybe is too strong for your computer, it might theoretically, like, your Q might just go poof like that, right? And just like die or go, just like
a quick power surge or overloading of memory or something.
Yeah, and it's almost like how solar flares can like disrupt communication here and knock out communication system for a bit. That's why you have circuit breakers. They kind of compensate for that. But let's just say that when the body is able to receive the signals from source as a quantum wave, as a solar wave, as a gamma wave, as a whatever it is that you cannot see with a microscope, that level, okay, or instruments. And the brain all of a sudden is affected by this current, let's say. It knocks the brain out for a moment. It goes offline, and the body goes down on the mat, and it'll stay down there. If you leave it alone, the body, it may stay down there without moving for an hour, or maybe 2 hours. But given the time that we have in the training, so we calibrate like usually 20 minutes. So let's just say in those 20 minutes, so your brain's offline now. It's sleeping. It's not like
it's still
totally
it's
sleep.
Operational.
Huh?
It's operational.
But it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what you want, so that the power of this can actually imprint into the brain and create a new way of thinking and feeling and behaving in the world.
So almost like a rewiring of new neural pathways,
Yes.
a new way of perception or new feeling, new ideas, new emotions.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Just a modified self per se.
Yeah, and what happens is when a person really allows that vibration to go deep into the cells of the brain and the centers of the brain, see, this energy has intelligence, so it knows. So it knows that when it influences the brain, we all want to let go of our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a given, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our dysfunctional ways.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes resistance kind of gets in the way. But this energy will help clear all of that old stuff, just literally go poof. And then what's being created are new circuits and chromosomes and genes relating to our skills, our abilities begin to be activated or opened up or awakened. But you won't notice it necessarily, except maybe you're going to feel some weird stuff happening inside your brain.
Yeah.
And you're laying there on the mat and you can't move your body. You're very conscious. You're like in 3 places at once. And part of what level you're experiencing is like things firing off in your head. Structures actually moving.
Mm-hmm.
Cranial plates moving.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
You'll feel pressures. You'll feel heat. You'll feel cold. You'll feel nauseous. You'll feel dizzy. You'll feel blissed out. All a number of things.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is just a little interjection. I don't recall when, but at one point this weekend when we were doing an attunement, you were doing a meditation. I felt there's at one point just in the past I created an image, a power play image, much like this one I created right here. And the image when I was working on it, I felt clicking in my head, like Lego blocks were clicking and moving.
Yeah.
And I hadn't felt that before. And I knew that that quantum image I had made was doing some rewiring or something. It's called the Tempest crystal star. We had it displayed at everything. And this weekend, when we were doing an attunement, I literally heard like a miniature construction crew working in my head. Now, obviously not on a physical level of hearing, but on a interdimensional level. And I felt movements in there, and I was like, wow, this is serious. And not many people per se are aware on different dimensions of what's taking place. Fortunately, I am sense enough to pick up on very subtle mental, emotional changes or whatever. So that's probably something that a lot of people would notice is what's taking place on these different levels. So it's quite interesting that you mentioned that things might actually be moving, or tectonic plates of the earth, how they shift and whatnot. This is happening in the brain and the neural pathways. I once heard that if you were to take a splice of the brain and watch the activity, it would look like a lightning storm. All the electricity and neurons firing, it literally is like glowing in your brain. It's like a electrical circuitry going on there.
Yeah, it's just like a computer, how it's based. But not only that, you'll feel stuff going on in here, in your solar plexus. Some people have very rapid eye flutter, twitching, kriyas, body movements that you can't control.
Epileptic sort of movements over the weekend.
Yeah, and occasionally these weird sounds coming out of the mouth, the spine adjusting by itself, the neck adjusting by itself, C1, C2 adjusting by itself. And you remember the one student we worked with that had the neck pattern, right? And then we didn't necessarily do a specific way for her neck thing, but remember, she moved her neck afterwards, and I had full range of motion, and then even more a little bit after that. So all these wonderful things can happen without us knowing it. The body can begin to reshape, readjust. We've seen people's faces morph into all kinds of stuff. Past life, future lives, parallel selves.
Really? So it's basically putting oneself in a state of unlimited potential, the unlimited potentiality, and whatever, is there something someone asks for, or is it just Prime Source Creator does whatever it wants to do? How is there a way to direct what happens in this?
Yes, both.
Okay.
So Prime Source knows, yes.
Okay.
So I believe that the key to self-healing or spiritual change in one's life is first, you have to ask inwardly, and then you have to be open to receive it, which is a little bit harder. That's the tricky part in a way, because we all have a lot of unconscious resistance. You know, say, okay, yeah, I want this, yeah, I'm open to that. But when it comes to really receiving it and embodying it, then acting that energy out in the world, well, that could be another story. Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
It might bring up some
responsibility issues, which may or may not be true. Probably most likely not true.
Not true as in an illusion, or
yeah,
fear,
not true in
irrational
like
fear.
Yeah, like all right. Let me ask you this. So, if this moment that you realize in this moment, or like after the activation we're going to do for our audience, that you had this realization, not just mental or intellectual, but a full body knowing and recognition that you are where you've been wanting to go in your life. So in other words, to put it very simply, although it's a misnomer, all of a sudden, when you open your eyes, you go, okay, this is what enlightenment is, or this is what self-realization is, or this is what God realization is, or this is what being really awake is. Now, what would you do, or what would you think after that now? Because now you're in a totally new zone, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And let's just say you left all of your old behind, because that is what's required.
Okay.
No carry-on baggage in the New Earth vibration. What would be your responsibilities as a individual, as also as a soul, and as a divine spirit? So I'm not necessarily asking you to respond to that, but I believe some people have these considerations deep way back in their mind. And it might scare them, because they may believe, not true, but they may believe, okay, now I've got to give up all my personal desires, I've got to serve others, and I've got to go out and save the world. I've got to leave my family, my job, my career, my kids, my pets, my SUV, my everything, my cell phone, my brand new cell phone, everything. And I've got to go out there and do a Mother Teresa or a Gandhi or a Dalai Lama. Just posing, just posing these questions. But I would say that that's not true. These preconceived ideas of what we're supposed to do post-enlightenment or whatever it is. Then we have to also remember we've enlightened many times and we've ascended many times. But for some, we are integrating all of our past lives into this one. That's not easy. All of them, the wisdom, the learning, into this embodiment, and doing the ascension thing again from scratch. That's not easy. But some of us have chosen to do that. And the work is designed to reach those people out there that don't have a family to be a part of, to connect with, because it's a very lonely path. I didn't mention my 30, 40 years have been quite lonely in certain ways, and I've been a loner most of my life, so they can relate to that, all you out there. So part of the work is to draw the soul group, the soul family together, so we can create and work together. And we change the world by just changing us. We're not going to save anybody. We're working on ourselves. And in that vibration, we'll touch others. And I'll go, man, you look really different since I last saw you last month. I'm, pretending like, okay, tomorrow someone's going to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. I go, man, your vibes are really good. What have you been doing? And you say, well, and they'll probably want to know. And so that's how it kind of spreads. Where they feel something and they want that.
They recognize that the grace, the lead by example sort of thing I get what you're saying, totally.
Yeah.
I want to touch up on something just briefly that you just mentioned, some people, like post-illumination per se, or post-enlightenment, when this new field of bringing prime source creator, state of grace into one's life and having a permanent conscious awakening, is that something that you have encountered? Is people not talking to you, not being able to envision how they're going to live their life? Or has it been a gradual, graceful process in which they can integrate this new state of consciousness into their life? Have you experienced
Hopefully it's a gradual,
okay.
easy, step-by-step integration. We don't teach the Big Bang Theory of the lightning bolt and Charlton Heston vision, right? And the angels and all that. Oh, okay, right? Although it might happen.
Yes.
My assistant, from the very beginning, after she took the first training of 5 students.
Fonda, you're right.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, she told me a couple years later, her first wave experience, she had the experience of the white light in her first wave.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
But it was from that experience that I believe that she just knew that she had to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
It was like no other consideration, no, intellectual dialogue. She just knew.
That was it.
And so she told me, I'm hanging around with you. You're not getting rid of me. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's amazing.
A very valuable part of the work.
Absolutely.
And so let me ask you a question, because I haven't completely answered it. What I encourage, I don't normally talk about it, but what I encourage in the trainings, I hold a state for people to be themselves,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not talking about their personality self, obviously. We're talking about their true self,
Mm-hmm.
their I am that I am. I hold a state, the assistants hold a state for the students to be able to come into that naturally. Now, we don't know what it's going to look like,
Mm-hmm.
but we can tell when people are authentic, because there's no baggage there in the way. It's just clear, clean expression.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's an enlightened state, is when people are able to clearly communicate with no baggage,
Mm-hmm.
no pretense, no judgment, none of that stuff that we're used to having to do to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, it's dropping all that survival stuff too.
Almost like being like a child again, where it's just
Innocent,
yeah,
spontaneous,
just that natural connection.
curious,
Yeah.
open, yeah. And many of the people that I've gotten could not live their childhood. So as adults, they're suffering.
Mm.
They're suffering because their inner kid is suffering.
Yes.
Yeah. They weren't allowed to grow up and play or speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mommy, I see angels. No, you're going to school now, dear.
Mm.
You can't be talking about seeing angels.
Mhm.
So close that off now. Become normal and learn how to read, write, and do arithmetic.
Yeah.
Age 6, 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or abusive families, or don't speak unless you're spoken to, and
Yeah.
my mother was raised in a convent,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a pretty rough time, and you weren't allowed to speak. You just
Wow.
that was it.
Wow.
You spoke and you're spoken to, and that's it.
Wow.
Period. And there's no, it's not like you just escape or run away at the age of 7 years old or something, right? So, it could be pretty deep impact for your future if you're not
Yeah.
able to clear that and move beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
So, totally would make sense. Absolutely.
Okay. And then also to finish your question.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not teaching so much a technique, but we do a protocol like a meditative, energetic invocation and visualization through our creativity to help set a state. So let me see if I can pull in the physical analogy here. Okay, I'll give you a crude example. In sports, like before basketball games,
Mm-hmm.
you do the national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's forget it's about the patriotic thing, but on an energy level, it was supposed to create some kind of peace and flow and harmony in the arena so that everybody can have a good game. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But a very crude example is that was an attempt to set the state before something occurs.
Sure.
Where everybody kind of participates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes done with song,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is also, important for setting the state.
Mm-hmm.
But I would just like to emphasize that when we do set the state for our day and our meditation, things go really well, as opposed to if you don't do it. And so always we're creating the boundaries and the safe space for the students to learn in. And that's a whole nother thing about the quantum learning aspect, whole totally different ballgame than what most healers, most teachers are used to or are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nicely challenging. It's not stressful, but it's nicely challenging.
How would you say that that would differ from what some other healers may be doing? What may they be doing that is not holding that state?
Well, let's say if we do this, we've already done this, but let's just say for our audience now that we've asked everyone present, so we invite the whole universe, because invitation,
Okay.
when you invite, then beads come,
Yes.
as opposed to no invitation, right?
Yes.
So everybody just got an invitation in the mail. They've opened up this nice little decorative little envelope with a little invitation to come join us for this little attunement.
Mm-hmm.
So I show up. And then we basically, with our breath, we connect to that place there.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, well, okay, that's what's also needed now after connecting there is now how do we bring this through the body?
How do we embody
How do
that
we,
connection?
because that energy's with us anyway, but when we invoke it, it comes alive. Let's just put it that way. It's not that we have to bring it into the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically when we invite and invoke and creatively visualize, imagine that connection, you invoke that power within each cell, each organ of your body, the space around you, and now you become that state.
So it's almost like, I'll use perhaps maybe a crude example. There are things called opportunistic viruses, which basically like a cold or a flu.
Mm-hmm.
It's already in you. However, when you reach such a low energy state, it will activate. So it's almost like the field is there, and for some people, their minds have sort of suppressed or made the full potential of that dormant. And what you're doing is activating that full potential that already exists within us.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Simply put, same thing with the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And now the brain is activating.
Mm-hmm.
And people's skills, one good example. Well, now we've had two. Well, we've had several actually over the years of unexpectedly in the training, people's higher selves all of a sudden speaking to the voice.
Interesting.
All of a sudden.
Yeah.
And people are going, whoa, that's not the personality that we know. Because the energy is very distinctly different. The voice is distinctly different. And there's a look in the eyes that's very different. To give you a classic example, I guess, of this, it could be in the textbooks in the future. So, a few years ago, the higher self of a student came through unexpectedly. It might have been after an attunement we did, and started speaking to the group. But here's the funny thing. We like funny. The being now in the body came in for the first time, that aspect. Didn't know how to walk the body, so had to it took a number of minutes to learn how to walk, and the being realized that the body had to go to what you would call your washroom because of certain biological processes that were needing to happen, and so I had to get used to turning the faucet on to the, and seeing this didn't have a word for water, but this liquid, right, being kind of cold and so that So that was really funny and very profound. But the higher self had to get used to operating in the body, and for her it took like probably half the day. We had it also occur with two people in another state a number of years ago. They didn't know. The body got hungry. Not that they got hungry. The body got hungry, so we ordered in some Chinese. This was after class had ended, the training had ended, or it was in between teaching days. And the being didn't know how to eat the soup. And didn't like the smell of the soup anyway, either. It was too heavy. Well, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all they could do was just sit in the corner and not move because, yeah. And so they began to learn how to use the vocal cords to communicate. Because initially it was just like staring at you. And like, you could tell. When you get that look, like, oh, they're looking right through me. They're seeing everything about me. Because that's what the soul can do when it comes to the body. It knows.
Wow.
They took a few days. And then recently, perhaps on this last trip, we had an example at the restaurant, which maybe people weren't aware of. But it can happen unconsciously, where all of a sudden, doom, 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 the soul starts downloading aspects, speaking through the voice, and maybe the person's not aware, okay, there's a new level now, but those around go, she's starting to channel her higher self. See? And that's going to happen more and more. That's going to be really funny to witness. But that's the purpose of this, is to help people to bring their real self through, not their ego, personality stuff. And the other part is we don't want to kill the ego. We don't want to like banish the ego from the kingdom. We want to educate the personality that it can actually deal with this quantum energy, because it doesn't know how to do that. That's why it rejects and like goes into fear.
Yeah.
When you talk about certain levels of quantum, especially with people that like are church-minded, that example, and only have one reference for life, when you introduce another whole different level here, that speak in the same language but not all rigid and confined, they go into fear. There's no need for that. And I don't have an answer for that, other than, we just share the work with who's ever ready to receive it.
You're not soliciting the work. They come to you because they're
drawn to it
ready.
somehow. Yeah. They feel something. And they know it's something different, but it's also feels familiar, if you know what I mean.
You mentioned in the training you're very specific on to not imprint whoever you're working with your own energy. You emphatically reiterated that. And so what are they feeling? What is people experiencing? Are they experiencing their own energy? Are they experiencing energy of
So again, referencing, or we could reference this, same thing, if we go to the core here. So that's what they're beginning to feel here. So it's universal and it's individual. So in the training, everybody's feeling this universal spirit of unconditional love and allowance. Unconditional love and allowance coming from here. Because that's the power that creates. That's the strongest power in the universe. That's what Jesus used and still uses. So why would you not want to use the purest energy, the most potent energy, the most loving energy? Why wouldn't you want to use that? Yeah.
When you had given me the wave in a private session, when you put your hands on my head, and I don't recall where your other hands were, it was instant. I felt like electrical tingling in my feet or my legs and in my head simultaneously, and I felt a rush of joy in my body, and I almost burst out laughing, and my face was like, what's the word? Involuntarily twitching.
Yeah.
My eyes were twitching, and I could see how someone would interpret that as you're giving them the energy.
Okay.
Yet, this already exists within us. And I felt this almost like in my mind's eye, a point of light or a point of darkness, I don't know, just a something, a point of something, sort of expand from my back and just go, like open up like a zipper. Zzz, and it kind of went over me, and I felt the urge to just shut down. And that's when I laid back, and I think it was Anna who caught me in for 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever. I was just I was aware of my surroundings, yet I was detached from the surroundings, and I could hear voices talking, but I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to move. I was just in my own sort of world.
Yeah.
And what was most profound was that there was not the chitter chatter of automated talking. I could think, and it was only me versus random just coming through.
Excellent.
So it was almost like I could hear myself through the silence without any chitter chatter, if you want to call it.
All that static.
Yeah, all the background
The white noise.
The white noise. Yeah. It's almost like when someone has been yelling in your ear for 20 years straight, and one day they just stop, and you're like, what's that? You're just like, what's that silence? It's just, the silence is deafening, oxymoron.
Speaking of that, we've had, one student freak out. She went to that place of like total void, nothing, just clear light, and she freaked out. Frightened her because she was just all the white noise, the static.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's rare. So we calibrate in the experience for people that they be giving exactly what they can handle, no more. And of course it's based on everyone's ability to receive and trust. So there's a law that even the angels follow. So it is whatever you're asking for, it is given according to your trust and belief in self. So if you're coming up from poverty and deprivation and abuse, your ability to receive and have is probably going to be like, not much, right? But so you'll be given that much. But tomorrow it could be like this.
So never more than you cannot handle.
Right.
So that's the grace.
Yeah. So Spirit fills a cup up to, right to the top, but it won't overflow. That's why we create the storage area in the brain also, to make sure as a backup that the brain doesn't get overloaded and people get confused, because we don't want that. Getting back to functioning, this is answer to your question, how many minutes ago, about functioning on the earth plane. So yeah, you can get blissed out to a point of where you cannot function on the earth plane and get stuff done. Well, we don't want people to do that, right? If you go to an ashram and live in an ashram, well, maybe you can do it there because you don't have responsibilities other than scrubbing the floor and,
Yeah.
But if you're in the marketplace, you've got your stuff to do here, right? And so the idea is to ground and balance that energy to where it's functional in the everyday sense.
Sure.
Now, occasionally we have to put a disclaimer. You may take the roundabout way getting home from the store in the quantum state.
Yeah.
Some of the people have experienced in their training.
Yeah.
Or actually even getting lost. I'm thinking of someone in particular, getting lost in the building several times in one day.
And it's not that big of a building either. I got lost here actually. First day I took the elevator and took some wrong turn and ended in another wing, and I was like, what? What's going on? And so interesting indeed.
Yeah, okay. So I think I answered your original question. It just takes some time.
Yeah, absolutely. So people can come to you for a quantum wave session in order to help resolve or gain greater clarity on whatever it is they want to work on, or they can come to you for a training session in terms of where you provide intensive training for people to emulate your work and carry that forth and reach the masses in on a more ground level per se. And that's
I would prefer. I'm evolving out of doing personal sessions and phone sessions.
Okay.
Because I am getting more busy.
Okay.
And requested to go here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, Jupiter, Venus, Aldebaran, Arcturus.
Okay.
You know.
Take me with you when you
Cassiopeia, okay, yes. Occasional trip to Doll Universe, you know, for vacation.
Yeah, nice. Perfect.
They're going,
are you
Doll
going
Universe. Okay. I would love for people to consider the opportunity to train in this work. There are several levels to this work. And all I can say is from our experience, it's just amazing. And it's a co-creation, really. You know, the depth of the power of grace that comes through for the student is dependent upon the class as a whole. So if they really, 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 really get into it and really just open up and allow, we can go very deep with the transmission, so to speak, the activations, the attunements that allow the students to do the work. And they'll do it on the first day. No question about that. We are moving into doing large group work where we fill a big conference room with 100 to 500 to 3,000, 5,000 people sitting in chairs. And then we'll present a segment, we'll do an activation, we'll do some sharings, we'll present another segment, we'll do an attunement, we'll do some sharings, and maybe a third time. That would be in the context of a 5-hour event.
Okay.
So that's what I would like to move into in the near future. I do want to train people to duplicate what we do in the training so that I don't have to do it eventually, where the students graduate to become teachers and they would do what I do, and they would network into different cities throughout the U.S. and Canada for now.
Perfect.
And, you know, offer private work, phone work, do public events.
You do have I thought I saw you write down you had a Europe.
There's a possibility we might go to Europe next spring if the promotional company and I agree to, you know, all the specifics of coming on maybe a 3-week to Germany, Austria, and Switzerland.
Okay.
Possibly a quick hop to the UK.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of viewers and customers and whatnot from all over Europe, so definitely they'd be interested in having access to that directly through you.
And I have always loved Canadians, so this is a pitch for Canada.
Okay.
So I love coming here.
That's awesome.
In spite of the border crossing stuff,
Really?
customs.
Did you have any issues?
Oh, no.
Okay. Perfect.
It's always funny when we go through customs because we're in that quantum state. And Anna and I went through, not together, but we got the same agent, and we had to make up a story. And but it was pretty funny. Yeah, it's no problem.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think I have a past life connection with Canada. It's no different than the States to me.
Feels like home to you?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Excellent.
Yeah. And we're always doing new radio shows, and that's really, really fun to do. And we do the attunements, or we do a guided meditation on the radio shows.
Excellent.
We do a short presentation, and then we do some sharings at the end. The people will call in, or they'll write on a monitor. You know, they'll share their experiences.
I heard some secondhand information, and I haven't heard one of your radio shows as of yet, because our introduction has been so expedited, per se, that some people who listen to radio shows, or a radio show, per se, may enter this quantum state by listening to your voice and listening to what you're saying, or following through with the meditation, and actually collapse, you know, like out cold, fall off their chair, and just they're out, and they're being reprogrammed to bring themselves to the next level, and just unconsciously just not any, where you're smashing your head on your coffee table or anything, but you just get tired and just that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the brain going, okay, I'm going offline now.
Yeah.
Okay, can't hold up anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
boom, yeah.
A couple of times during the weekend, I literally couldn't keep my eyes open. I was awake, but I was just like, no, I gotta go with it. It's kind of like a gentle pull. I spent a lot of time with my eyes closed and dreaming and sleeping and, tuning into what you're doing this weekend. So I've had some pretty profound experiences. And another thing I noticed is that with all the artwork of mine that I had around the workshop, there's a different feeling to it now. Like it's been, whatever you want to call it. It's
more activated?
More activated. Like I can, it's like, tangible electricity coming off the artwork and whatnot. So it definitely affects the physical surroundings as well. I mentioned when I walked in, I had gone for a while, I came in and I came in the room after about 4 hours of not being there, and when you're in the state, you don't necessarily feel the difference per se. But when I left and I came back, I couldn't believe the energy in the room. Literally, I felt like there was wind coming off the ground, lifting me up. Like my feet felt like they were like in the air. I was like, whoa, like I almost had to leave the room because it was a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I don't think people realize that it slowly cascades upwards and lifts you up gracefully without a big bang, just like you said.
Yeah.
So it's real.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good example. Yeah, you don't notice it if you're immersed in it for 3 days, but you have to leave for some reason, come back hours later. I checked the room out today. It's all cleaned out and everything, right? Just like it was before we moved in there and set everything up. The energy's still in there. The energy feels really nice in there. So I would like to see the next group that rents that space. The comments I'll give to the front desk, but felt really nice. Felt really nice in there.
Yeah.
See, so the energy lingers, if you want to use that word. It gets embedded in the carpet, in the paint, in the walls, in the ceilings, the quantum. So over time, your room, your space, your home can, just like you said, it'll build and build and build. And when you do the attunements from the show package, or you just do your own meditation in the same room, of course, it's going to build. And the room's going to absorb the vibration. So that's what's neat.
Yeah.
It's just like they can take one of your pieces and energize their room or their whole house through that image.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through the attunements, there's many ways to do it now.
Before I slips my mind again, there's a couple words that you mentioned that I want you to talk to the audience about. And you mentioned the word activation, and you mentioned the word attunement, attunement or attunement?
Attunement.
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 I'm not sure everyone knows what that means or what context you're speaking about that. Can you elaborate on those two words?
Kind of the same thing.
Okay.
So say you have...
In reference to how you present it, okay.
Okay, so let's use this again.
Okay.
So say we have the core of the center there, right? And then you have you there, your body there, and me there. But universally, we're already connected from the very beginning of time, right? On a universal level, we are connected. And at the same time, we have individual bodies that we're learning through. So an attunement or an activation is simply holding the space for the core of this. Wow. Yeah. Cool. Here.
Well, I can feel it, trust me. When I was creating this, I wasn't even here per se, right? But yeah.
So that was an attunement. Okay, so so we hold the space for this brain to be connected with the core of that. That's attunement or an activation, is to where two waves connect in a way.
Sort of entrain or harmonize?
Yeah, entrainment or harmonizing, yeah.
Okay.
Because we're just connected from so many things all the time.
Yeah.
right?
Gotcha.
And the idea, this work helps to bring everything into clarity and centeredness and focus.
Okay.
Because we always center on, we don't center around the periphery or the symptoms. We go to the source. And that's the unconditional, that's the space that holds the unconditional love and allowance.
Well said.
So we call it grace.
Okay.
So Jesus, getting back, to verse 9, go.
Mhm.
So he was able to be a conduit, a clear channel for the power of grace. Basically what that means is, all right, you're free. You don't have to do your karma. I mean, you can get off the wheel of rebirth right now if you want to. Okay, you don't have to work out your karma anymore. It's done. That to me is grace. You can let go of all your stuff now. You don't have to work through your stuff. You don't have to process your stuff anymore.
That's what you mentioned before. A lot of people think they need to process this and move through it.
Yeah.
Rather process and move through it, just let it go. Let go that which doesn't really matter. It's what you are that matters, which is grace. Everything else is just garbage per se. Bad, almost like a computer. You know, you have good software,
Yeah.
you have bad software. You can't run bad software, bad thoughts, bad programming and expect positive results to come from that by any means.
Yeah.
So are you saying, no, I'll give you an analogy. Let's just replace it with positive software. Okay? You're getting a lot of positive results, yet it's still software. It's still a program. Are you saying get rid of all programs? No program. Or are you saying slowly build up positive? Like,
Well,
how does that work in that analogy?
I believe you can drop all software that's dysfunctional now
Okay.
for you.
Okay.
That's dysfunctional.
Okay.
Doesn't work anymore. It's like too old.
Yeah.
You gotta upgrade.
Yeah.
You gotta take your old computer, go to Best Buy, trade it in, and get the latest version.
Okay.
You can't be running a 20-year-old computer with today's software. It's not gonna work,
Gotcha.
right?
So, in analogy, when you enter the quantum state and your brain shuts off, it'd be like you turning off the computer, replacing it with new parts, turn it back on, but you have to go off the line to do that. You can't just change your parts while the computer's still on, because it would just malfunction.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That-
It's at least gotta go in the sleep mode.
Yeah.
And then what's neat is then you gotta restart. So then after you restart, then you start opening your eyes and you realize, okay, I can get up now and get grounded. See, but until that time, you're not restarted yet. You're still in sleep mode.
Okay.
And then your spirit, your brain will know to restart it. Basically, you can restart it through the pineal gland. We have a little technique, if you will. We just have the students touch here and say restart, and so that restarts electrical circuitry in your brain. That's just one way to do it. This is a playful way to do it. It's not serious, but it works.
Excellent. Did you touch upon the word activation, or was that what we would call activation?
Okay, so when the two waves meet, blink, there's that alignment. So when there's a connection, and maybe you can use a computer analogy, so when there's a connection, then there is, well, on a photon level, there's a burst of light that occurs. It's the power being released within the cell, within the neuron. And that is symbolic of opening up your brain power, because there's 90% we haven't used yet. So this work facilitates, helps support opening up those other 90% of your brain power, so that you can become a spiritualized human being, not a human being trying to be spiritual, but we already are spiritual in divine right. So it's spiritualizing the human form, the ego.
Yeah.
We want to spiritualize the ego to where it can awaken and understand that it can release all the fears now. It doesn't have to hold on to any of the doubts and fears anymore, because it's not going to be hurt anymore. This is going to be a safe world.
Yeah. Wow.
So practical level, when this energy moves out more into the community, people are going to feel safer, just naturally. They're going to be less paranoid, less fearful.
You know, I heard one person, Richard, I think it was Richard Hawkins, power versus force film.
Uh-huh.
He had mentioned that through his years of becoming more aware of beauty and love and true self, that loud noises, like startling noises, no longer startled him anymore. Like when someone would, you know, someone drop something close to you and you're like, oh,
yeah,
it just didn't happen. He just, it was just part of the background.
Yeah,
it's blended in everything else.
That's true. Yeah.
There wasn't, I think, that fear of death, the fear of being attacked, fear of someone grabbing you. It just embeds in subconscious. You hear a loud noise, like, you know, that smooths out.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like the old Zen thing, you know, where you're scrubbing the floor and then maybe there's a boulder that comes rumbling down the hillside. And yeah, you're hearing it, but you're still, you know, you're just doing your thing. Or, you know, earthquake comes.
Yep. Yep.
All right. You just keep on doing what you're doing.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically what it does is it helps to heal the adrenal glands. Need to be flight or flight and on guard.
Yep.
On guard.
At all times.
Most people are on guard.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel safe.
Yeah. In a beta state of mind.
On guard. Just low level agitation all the time, Rene. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I read a parable. Maybe it was the fellow who wrote. I don't remember the name. Anyways, he said there was a monk who was smelling flowers on the edge of like a cliff, and he somehow fell off the edge of the cliff but grabbed onto a vine, and there were hungry lions below him waiting to eat him, and the branch was breaking, and he knew it was going to break, and he knew he was going to fall to the death of the body. Yet there was a bunch of flowers on the vine, so he just took the time to smell the flowers and, you know, enjoyed the moment for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
No full well knowing what's to happen,
Mm-hmm.
you know, by being in that grace and not really fearing that which is inevitable. So you work with whatever you're given, and you work with the most pure intention, and nothing can go wrong in that state because you're working from that truth of which you are.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I've really felt I told you, a deeper level of confidence, a deeper level of calm, quiet, loving, warm, a presence, a powerful, warm presence within. And that's, you know, I can
Power,
feel,
peace.
yeah.
That's the peace, that path is all understanding in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
That's not describable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what you're beginning to feel. That's what all the students are embedded with.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line, in their first wave experience. You got to have that. That's your foundation.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah.
I think you are going to do a bit of a meditation.
Mm-hmm. A little guided meditation, so
Okay.
people can experience a taste of the work.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We won't go real deep, but we'll kind of give an appetizer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And I'm sure some people are going to be curious about these quantum cubes, so you can always contact me at innersoultechnologies.com if you're interested in finding a little more about them and how they help the quantum field, you know, sort of move within these 3D realms. And I'm going to focus the camera on you, and we're going to allow that state of grace to enter and transmit that, imprint that to the video, to the audio, and experience what you experience. And you may feel something, like you said, you may not, you may fall asleep, you may just have a better day and notice little things changing. And thank you so much for
You're welcome.
doing the interview and spending time with me this weekend and inviting me down. You know, really appreciate that, and I look forward to working with you on a couple of projects here and there and seeing how we can grow together.
Right on.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have to say this disclaimer, so please do not watch or listen to this video while driving your automobile or playing it in the automobile, period. Or if you're riding a tractor in Iowa, please pull out to the side. So we ask everyone to stop multitasking and just bring all of your awareness into a quiet space, turning off all distractions in your home, such as radio, TV, etc. And you want to have your spine in a comfortable position. So we're going to use the power of the breath to focus and relax the brain. So we're going to ground the body first. So feel and imagine let's just say about 100 magnets under your feet that are embedded in the earth. And your feet are also magnetics or a magnet. And imagine now that your body through your feet is magnetically grounded and supported by our beautiful Earth Mother. And we're going to ask, as always, to be a clear and perfect channel for the light, for the information, for unconditional love and allowance, and for the power of grace on all levels. And we invite the whole universe to come and receive a taste of the work. We're also going to invite all of your ancestors to come and receive, as well as all members of your family, including your wonderful pets. So imagine now using the power of your creativity. And on a physical level, that part resides through the brain. So imagine you as the Voyager, as the I am that I am, have detached yourself from your emotional body and your intellect, and from all worries and concerns of the world, your life, your present situation. And you stepped out of the body for a moment through the golden arc of light, and your focus as the Voyager, outside of space-time. So we're going to invoke the power of the Council to bring forth a most magnificent cocoon of light surrounding each one of you and your family in this beautiful energy of unconditional love and allowance. So breathe that in. Breathe it into the brain with the breath. Going to activate your brain centers. Beginning to activate your body's power to heal itself, and your body's ability to balance the adrenaline and cortisol levels through your kidneys and adrenal glands, to balance your hormones, and we're going to bring forth power of grace for each of you to receive in your own way. So simply think of an issue, think of a situation or a person that you desire healing with, that you desire resolution for. Okay, then just let that go. And continue to breathe with the power of grace. You can feel a beautiful rose pink vibration moving through your body. Allow this vibration to move through the silence within your mind. Allow it to move through and activate your immune system in your body. We're going to call forth the comforting angels. And the loving support of Gaia, Mother Earth, and all of her healing elemental energies. We're going to call forth your spirit, the I am that I am. So begin to breathe now, that power within you, through the breath. You're going to anchor it at the base of your spine, in your sacrum. You're going to anchor it into your solar plexus, your stomach area. You're going to anchor it in your lungs and your thymus gland, into your throat and thyroids, into the brow and your pineal gland. You're going to create a storage area in your brain to put all of this quantum data until you need it. Okay, and lastly, we'd like you to feel the space behind your physical heart. And imagine that your physical heart is beating with the same heartbeat as the sun, as a source of life. One heartbeat, one rhythm. Allow that vibration to move through all ages of your life, starting with your birth and moving through your current age in this now moment. Now allow over the next 14 days for this vibration to integrate into your brain, into your emotional body, your mental body, your etheric body. Simply allow and trust that all is good. So as you come to, slowly open the eyes in the now moment, fully centered and grounded, awake, alert, alive, allowing the flow. Allow the quantum vibrations to settle into your cells and organs. Be at peace. Know all is well. We send our blessings. Namaste.
Kenji, I'd like you to, in a moment when you're ready, to tell the audience again how to contact you, your webpage, any phone numbers or Facebook or whatever you want, Twitter, or however you want to do that. sure they'll be
And
interested.
it's quantumlightweaving.com. Facebook, could be Lightweaver7 or my name, Kenji Kumara.
With a U.
Kumara. My contact information is on my website on the contact page. And we will be coming back to Edmonton, hopefully this year, maybe twice. We'll be in Santa Fe, Tucson, Austin next February or January. We'll be in Fairfield, Iowa, November for advanced training. We'll be in Portland next month, July. Twitter is Lightweaver7. LinkedIn, which I don't use very much, is also Lightweaver7. That's the number 7. And please drink plenty of water for the rest of the day. And please ground yourself before you start your activities after this attunement meditation. Simply ground your brain through the feet to the Earth Mother. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is Rene Hamilton with InnerSoulTechnologies.com, and you can reach us at that website, www.innersoul, INNERSOULTECHNOLGIES, InnerSoulTechnologies.com, and you can add me to Facebook at Rene Hamilton, and our YouTube channel with all our videos and other interviews is youtube.com/InnerSoulTech. Not technologies, Inner Soul Tech. And I'm not sure if you want me to mention this or not, but there's a possibility of us co-creating perhaps a quantum pendant. It might be this image right here, which is what I created for the class, for the session, that Kenji would personally run this quantum wave process on and embody some of the quantum state of grace within that. So one could have that with them when they're not necessarily mindful of it and assist in that process. So looking forward to working with you on that and getting the word out, especially to younger generation, which is sort of embroiled in the mayhem of the world and technology, that we really need to take time to spend time for ourselves to discover who we are. And at such a critical point in our day and age, this is greatly needed, and thank you so much for the blessings that you brought forth, and you've stuck with you've pushed through all the mess in order to come here fully within this grace that you are. I appreciate that. And Onda as well, which we're going to interview here right away. And of course, the person who brought this the Edmonton seminar here all together and did an amazing job, and just a logistical genius, Alex Tweed. So thank you so much, and we'll take a break here for a bit here.